Well, hello there. I'm Barbara Brooks, and today I'm going to share a quick story about some new news that we got about our mother. But let me just start with it's 2003, March 17th, and I receive what I now am told is called the crisis call from my brother. It was midday on a Friday, and I was making plans to go out with friends because it was St. Patrick's Day. And that's when my brother told me that my mother had literally fallen and couldn't get up. Uh, that was the day that our lives changed indefinitely. So, my mother living an hour and 20 minutes away, as well as my brother, I obviously jumped in the car and drove to Colorado Springs to begin our new journey. And on the way, we're not knowing what the prognosis was going to be. It turned out to be a stroke. We learned that she had had several strokes in the last year. And this is a thing that when someone has a heart attack, you can learn that they've actually had several within the last few weeks or the last few months or a year. And she had had a few even within the last few weeks prior, just before the major stroke. So that was the day our lives changed. That was the day that we knew our childhood home would probably not be our childhood home of 50 years any longer. And Keith and I had to immediately jump into making plans, action. So today I'm going to share, though, that there is a new diagnosis that we were given last Wednesday. I didn't share it with friends. I kept it to myself. I think some of it was I didn't want to believe it. But her memory had been slipping. And you, by now, by even me saying her memory had been slipping, you probably recognize what I'm about to say. So our mother was diagnosed with vascular dementia. Is it in the beginning phases? Excuse me. It's in the beginning phases. And so Keith and I are now needing to make plans. So what I want to talk to you about today, and for those of you that may be watching, I would love for you to share if you have any other tips. But I have 8 practical steps to brace for impact, basically. To brace for that day that we will have to move our mother to another home, because what has happened is in 2003, we immediately, once she was released from 90 days of being in the hospital and rehab, we were thrown into obviously selling the childhood home and then also finding a new home for our mother. And we're so lucky that Keith and I have a mother who said, you do what you need to do to make things obviously great for her, but also she was cognizant of her children and did not buck on any ideas that we had, although we ran all ideas by her. So we are lucky that we have a mother who said and agreed to moving and selling obviously the home, but moving from Colorado Springs, her home of 50 years, even though she's a Texan, she agreed to move closer to me. We found a home and all was well. She was paralyzed on the right side, which is her dominant side. But what I want to do is, again, give 8 practical tips to brace for impact. So, hi, here am I. I'm Barbara Brooks. What I like to call myself is your Gen X guide. And I would love for you to consider this channel to be your playlist for thriving in your second act. And so whether you're a solopreneur, or you even have 1099s working for you, you're making career pivots, or you're navigating single life as a solo ager, I want you to think of this channel as your 80s mixtape. I'm going that far as to say it's the perfect blend of career entrepreneurship and life in the middle. Middlescence is what we call it. It's not a midlife crisis, it's a midlife quest. And it only gets better like a fine wine. So I'm all about reframing age and all the things that we are experiencing in these times. As for me, a 58-year-old lady, um, who considers aging out loud a power move. And so let's dive right in. For those that may have wondered if their parent is experiencing signs of dementia, I'm going to share a few things that we were noticing. But having had the diagnosis, I want to share what vascular dementia is according to Google. I can't believe I just said that out loud. Okay, really, it was from one of the major sources on Google. No, I didn't chat GPT this definition, but our mother has vascular dementia. It's a type of cognitive decline caused by damage to the blood vessels in her brain. That probably happened, as the PA said, during her stroke. This damage disrupts blood flow to the brain, leading to lack of oxygen and nutrients. And so for Keith and I, we started noticing there was a little bit of a decline. Her short-term memory was going away. There was also her refusing, in essence, to answer, what did you have for breakfast earlier this morning, or answer about things even that happened last week. But here's the thing. You ask my mom about our family being from the Brazos River, coming up from the Brazos River in Texas, just outside of Houston, and she can tell you the story from scratch as if she was living it. So because of this, Keith and I, again, are needing to brace for impact. So the things that I'm going to share with you that we are preparing for and have done already, because Keith and I actually had the will talk with my mom that same year in January of 2023. And in March 16th, it was actually March 16th that our mother had the stroke, but she laid on the floor because she's a tough cookie and just thought it was a quick illness or something. And it wasn't until Friday the 17th that she called Keith and Keith called me. So I just encourage you to know the signs and recognize and accept, because I think we didn't want to accept until the physician's assistant said to us after, and they see my mom once a month, but I don't think we accepted it, but we also didn't really think hard about what this really means. And we were seeing, yes, Rhiannon, we were seeing a mood change. I recall back in December that my mom went silent on me. She did not want to have anything to do with me, but loved having me there, I can tell. But she did not want to talk. And it was frustrating and it was sad. And it made me want to cry, not in front of her, because I am the child of a Texas tough mom. So, showing tears is not her jam. But we did. We saw signs of short-term memory, of mood disorder, of moodiness, of going silent, of not wanting to do certain things. And so cognitive decline, there were just doing some of the tasks. There were all those things that led up to us recognizing and realizing that it was probably what was diagnosed last week, which was vascular dementia. And she's on the starting end of it. So inside of this, let me give you some tips. Let me at least help you help your parent or family member, because I do not want you to have to go through what Keith and I did when we got that crisis call. We were lucky enough to have the will in place. But you know what we didn't know and have in place are the legals and the financials and all the things. And by the way, when we had the will done with our mother, because there were edits that needed to take place, we never had it signed and notarized. And we had to have that done in her hospital room when she had her stroke. So in order for you to brace for any type of impact, in essence, or crisis call, here are some of the signs that I want you to recognize that it may be time to move your parent to a home. Do not call it a facility. They are not facilities. They are not locked up as if they are prisoners. These are homes. These are gentle places. And so here are a few signs, even prior to the dementia, the vascular dementia, that Keith and I, when we think about it and we looked back, we probably months before that should have had the talk about having our mom create a new journey in a home prior to the stroke. Because here's what we saw, a few of the things. She really didn't have the ability to live alone any longer when we really thought about it. And it's because I would go visit and there was trash. Now, my mom is a clean freak like me, but there were trash bags and the kitchen was not clean. And this was happening every time I'd go down to the Springs, and it started accumulating. It started to get to the point where, because of her slowness and her declining health and not really being able to walk longer distances inside of her home or go do things, the trash was piling up. So Keith and I had made a pact in January prior to her having the stroke. We'd actually made a pact because we didn't know that this was a sign that we should have a bigger talk. So Keith and I decided, because he's in the Springs and I'm in Denver, that every other week I would go down to the Springs and work from my mom's house for a week, and then Keith would check in on her on the other weeks. He would make it a point to go bring her food or take the trash out or sit with her, whatever it may be. We were doing, that was a sign. We didn't know that was a sign. Cognitive issues. Again, there were times that we were noticing then that there was some forgetfulness, but we didn't think anything of it. We just thought, oh, it's just older age, difficulty with daily tasks. No longer wanting to jump in her little sports car, her little Prowler. It was orange too. Her little burnt orange Prowler to go to Chick-fil-A. She was ordering in now. Pizza boxes were everywhere. Y'all, she lost her teeth in a pizza box, but we didn't know where they were, because when I went down one time, those teeth were missing, and she didn't tell me they were missing for a full week. And I said, Mom, which was another thing, I said, Mom, we got to find those teeth. And I went through bags of trash and I found those teeth in a pizza box, a Domino's pizza box. But she was ordering food instead of going places. And this is a woman who loved to get up, get dressed, and I'm talking lashes and the whole bit up until 86, 85, I guess, is when she had this stroke. Our mom was really great with her financials, and but there were bills that were starting to pile up. The Comcast wasn't getting paid, and the Xfinity, nothing was turned off. But because we were there checking in on things, we noticed that a few times she would get calls, and we would, pay those bills for her. And social isolation. She just didn't want to go places. And that is not our mom. Our mom is a churchgoer. A Sunday get dressed to the nines churchgoer. And sometimes Wednesday or Sunday or Saturday afternoons for Bible study. Her social isolation, I had noticed, but I didn't think anything of it. I didn't think anything of it. She had not gone to church for months. The church people were calling me, saying, "Hey, where's your mom?" I didn't think anything of it. I just thought she just, would watch church on TV, and she just didn't feel like getting dressed anymore. But I didn't recognize that that was a sign that our mother was in decline. And a part of me wishes I would have recognized. I wish I would have known some of these signals, these bat signals that were going off to us, because a part of me wonders, would she have had her stroke? Would she not have been alone? Would she had her stroke? So I want you to recognize and think about the signs and begin to have the conversation. So that's number 1 of 8, bracing yourself for impact or the crisis call. Or are you recognizing some of the things that I said you may be recognizing in that family member? Have their legals and financials in order, know where they are, get the bank accounts, get the passwords, and all of those things. But now that Keith and I know that we have a different and even bigger difference in future for our mom, and that there will be a day that she may not recognize it, or she needs to be moved. Keith and I are on the phone with each other, already looking, already finding. We're going to spend the next month just doing reconnaissance. We are needing to find out, speaking of financials, if moving her from $6,200 a month location, her home now, and that's on the low end. I'm hearing that some people are paying $10,000 to $11,000. Her sister is in assistance in Colorado Springs and has her abilities practically taken away from her, where she has to be moved with an apparatus and things. But Medicare, thankfully, was able to pay for her $10,000 a month beautiful home at the base of the mountains in Colorado Springs. Have those financials in order. And if you need to start applying, if they're not on Medicare now, I'm sure they are, start getting your house in order. So we are doing, number 2 is legal and financials in order. Number 3 is long-term care planning. So again, we're looking for homes. Just so happens the same home that our mother is in, there are 2 homes backed up to each other that Rocky Mountain Assisted Living owns. They own several across Colorado and across Denver. The one that our mom is in is a 12-person beautiful home that was built maybe 3 years ago that she's living in. She's got her own room, own bathroom, and a big, beautiful kitchen and living area that as family members, we can go and enjoy with other family members, or enjoy her room and her big screen TV and all of those things. But behind that home is one for memory care. That is what we're having to look at. We are having to make the call to Rocky Mountain Assisted Living to see if there's going to be an increase, because memory care is much more difficult on our family members. So will that increase? Will Medicare, which we assume and we believe will carry that price along with her own monies that are into paying for this. But I'm also thinking, well, do I want to, when it's time to make that move, do I want to continue making a 22-minute, almost close to 45-minute drive when it's bad traffic or weather across town? And so I'm now going to be looking at long-term planning or long-term care closer to me. Number 4 is building a strong network. You just need it for the emotional support. And I'm very fortunate that I have friends that are going through it, have gone through it, sadly have lost parents to it that I can lean on. Please make sure, even if you're a strong person who says, I can handle it all, there's going to be a time where it gets messy. and you're not going to be able to handle it all. And you're going to need to rely on those friends and family members who will understand, who have been there and are willing to listen and be there for you. Number 5 is we're learning more about her vascular dementia and the caregiving resources and what's next when it is time. And it could be 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years before we see the severity of her vascular dementia decline. But we are now learning now, and trust me, I won't be Googling next time because I know I gave you that definition from Google. But yes, we are now going to be learning more about that. I know that there are books out there and podcasts, because this is going to be very difficult. When my mom does it and I call her and she immediately sees and I call her and first words out of her mouth are, "Hi, Barbara." And the way she says it, I want to record it. "Hi, Barbara." It's just, she's so excited to hear from me. I have to prepare myself for when that is not going to happen, when she may not, God forbid, recognize my voice, or when I walk into her room and how happy she is to see me. I say, if your parent is already in assisted living homes, or if they are on independent living, make sure that you have physician's assistants visiting them often enough so that they are able to recognize and tell you and give you the report back as to if they are seeing changes. I actually have it with Bloom Healthcare. I have it so that Emma knows to call me after every visit, knows to call me when she is going to visit my mom. And she'll call me and give me the update, which is where and when I got the update last Wednesday with the dementia diagnosis. Advocate for them. I have a friend who recently lost her parent, her mother, from falls and from all the things that were going unseen and untold to the family members. Advocate. If you see something, say something, even if you're just unsure. Because my mom actually has gotten a few things, not from because of where she's at, but there are a couple of things. She's gotten a boil on her finger. She's gotten this bursitis looking thing, huge nodule, and it was jelly looking. Oh God, that's gross. On her, below her knee, and it was this big. But they recognized it and they took care of it. But you may not have a home that will recognize, and or they'll see it and they won't say anything. So make sure that if you see anything off, make sure you advocate for your parent. That is number 6. Number 7 is make their place homey. Regardless, I decorate not only my home seasonally, but I decorate her room seasonally. We made sure that all of her parents are on the wall and her grandkids are on the wall. And there's pictures of us and happy times and her during her modeling days in the 90s when we lived in Indiana. So make it as homey as you can. And by the way, side note, I didn't know this, but they called to tell me, this is how much I love Rocky Mountain Assisted Living. The new girl called to tell me, "I think you need to have her comforter dry cleaned. It's time." I didn't know that. And it's been almost 2 years this June. I've got it in my car. It's go to the dry cleaner. And I have one that I had here at my house. I traded it out for my mom's. But it's the little things to make sure that things are being taken care of, that you're taking care of things that you may not recognize you're responsible for. But make it homey regardless. So she feels that some of the home things that we did keep from selling the childhood home, we have in her space and our space as well. And number 8, you got to embrace the chaos that is probably ahead of us, that you may be in now, that you may not even know will be ahead of you, because we didn't know when we got the crisis call. I didn't know this is what aging looks like And I am in the aging industry now as a pro age speaker. I had no clue, and we were not as prepared as we should have to embrace for the chaos that was ahead. So, as I said, some days will be messy, and that is a-okay. You're going to have to be flexible, adaptable to change. You're going to want to be angry with your parents. You're going to want to snap back at them when they are saying things to you or not saying things to you. It's easy to do that, but we have to recognize that it is a change. And Rhiannon, you said you would record the stories in her voice. Yes, those far back stories. I'm so happy you said that, Rhiannon. Just Monday when I was visiting my mom and we were watching The Voice, I said to her, because when my brother was in town a couple of weeks ago, there was something we were saying or doing that took us back in time. And I said to her on Monday, I said, Mom, we should have you next time Keith and his daughter is in town. You should tell us a story about our time, how our family came up from the Brazos River. Because my mom is a storyteller in a beautiful way. You're absolutely right, Rhiannon, is record. I'm going to find a way to record her saying, hi, Barbara. It's just the way she says it. That just brings so much joy. But you have to have humor along the way. And, that's how my family rolls, is we will smile through even our pain. Not everybody is like that, but you will have to have a sense of humor. So I am hoping that as I close out, that I am at least giving you some information on the things to prepare you for impact, as I say. So once again, know the signs, have the legal and financials in order, have a plan in place for long-term care planning or independent living, build a strong network, learn more about whatever their diagnosis is. Pardon me, allergy season. Learn more about their diagnosis. For us, it's vascular dementia, and the caregiving resources that come with it. Have your physician's assistants visit and report back to you. Alongside that, I'm laddering it, advocate for them. Number 7 is making their place feel like home. And then number 8 is just simply embracing for impact. So as I come to a close, I'm hoping that this will help. Thank you, Rhiannon, for joining the conversation. And navigating our loved one's illness is no frickin' walk in the park whatsoever, but know that you're not alone. I'm even here for you if you need it. You can DM me and I will share resources or I'll be there to listen if I need to. But we need to continue the conversation because the world is growing older. And if you did not know, 1 in 5 people in America today are over 50. And in 5 years, 1 in 5 people will be over 65. There will be a lot of us and solo agers and those with kids and those that don't, that we need to have our house in order and continue the conversation. And so I hope you found this video helpful, and give a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's not always going to be about woe is me or caregiving, but I do like to educate. I do like to be educated. So I will have guests from time to time, but do subscribe and I will see you next Thursday. And remember, you're not aging alone. You're evolving boldly, unapologetically, on your terms, because aging out loud is a power move and the world is ready for you. All right. Make it a great day, everyone.